Hello and welcome to the Working Wednesdays broadcast. I am your host, Audra V. Hurd. I am the CEO of IBG Publications as well as an author and business owner. So I just want to take the opportunity to welcome you tonight to the broadcast. It's going to be an absolutely phenomenal show. We have a phenomenal guest on tonight. She is a relationship expert, guru, all that good stuff, author, business owner, woman of God, most of all. So we are so excited to have Tamora Johnson on with us tonight. So we're not going to take long to get started tonight. I want to take the opportunity to welcome our guests, welcome everybody who's on. Do me a favor, like, share, tag the video, get someone on tonight who needs to hear that there is still hope in their relationship. There's still hope in their marriage because she is here tonight to give us that kind of hope. So I'm so excited to have her on tonight. She's a very dear friend of mine, sister in the Lord, partner in business. I say partner in blessings. I don't say partner in crime because I don't like to use that terminology, but I love her dearly. She's dear to my heart. So I'm so excited to have her on tonight. So let's go ahead and welcome our viewers. I see everybody's rolling in a little slow tonight, but that's okay. I see Tanya's on with us. Good evening, Tanya. How are you tonight? I see Pastor Linda Hernandez is on with us as well. So thank you for joining us tonight, ladies. God bless you. Like I said, do me a favor, like, share, tag the video so we can get some people on tonight. I'm actually going to go ahead and get watch party started so we can get some viewers on because we are going to have a phenomenal time tonight. It's going to be an absolutely wonderful show. Like, share, tag the video. I'm not going to waste any time getting her on. It's about 5 after. So I want to go ahead and introduce her officially once I get my watch party going. Join us live. Start a watch party. Share it in a group. Get some people on with us tonight. So God bless you all. Thank you for joining. I see people are rolling in with us. I do appreciate your presence tonight. So let's go ahead and introduce our guest so we can get her on. So tonight, we have none other than Tamara Catrice Johnson. She is author, speaker, relationship, and marriage advocate. Tamara K. Johnson, also known as Tam, is her passion lies within providing tools for couples to continue building or rebuilding the commitment necessary to sustain a thriving marriage or monogamous relationship. She believes that her transparency can be someone's road to recovery, thus using opportunities to share her story with those willing to listen. Her greatest value added to those she's assigned to her purpose is offering the missing ingredient that she personally lacked before exchanging her own marriage vows. Tam was married 14 years before she and her husband separated and divorced. She has three beautiful daughters who have occupied a front row seat in witnessing her be an exceptional example of a mother, wife, and leader. She attributes her wisdom to the authoritative biblical principles found in God's holy word, along with her personal journey as a girlfriend, fiance, wife, separated spouse, and divorcee. So she's worn several hats. She's going to talk about that tonight. It is her life's mission to mentor, advocate, and improve the state of the marriage entity on a global level, beginning first with a simple process of dating with a purpose. She'll talk more about that as well. Tam prides herself on offering tools that couples can add to their toolbox in an effort to continuously rise. Her ultimate goal is to inspire and motivate couples to find personal fulfillment in their divine purpose so that they are better equipped to serve in a committed relationship and marriage. So we're going to go ahead and get our guest on in just a few moments. We're going to go ahead and show her intro video. So sit back, grab your coffee, get your popcorn, whatever you like to get relaxed. It's going to be a blessed show tonight. Like I said, please like, share, tag the video, get someone on tonight. I do have her website. It's inside the comments. She can be reached at TamoraJohnson.com. Her social media handles are Make It Rise on Facebook and Instagram. So sit back and relax. It's going to be a wonderful show. We're coming right back up. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Let's go ahead and get our guest on tonight. Do me a favor again, like, share, tag the video, comment, give us some shout outs in the comment box so we know that you are listening. So let's go ahead and get my guest on tonight. Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
Hey there, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. So glad to see you tonight. Do me a favor, go ahead and greet our Working Wednesdays audience tonight.
Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate your time. I thank you for the opportunity to sit and listen. I am ready to pour into you if you are ready to be poured into. And it's just been an honor to come aboard on Working Wednesdays with Miss Audra. I appreciate this platform. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's just jump right on in. We don't like to waste no time. So, and I tell everybody that comes on, sometimes I'm on the script, sometimes I'm off of it. We just flow. It's just a conversation. So let's start with your journey. Talk about your journey to authorship and how you decided to write your first book, and give us some tips or some tidbits of what's in the book. So talk about your journey and then talk about the book.
Okay. So, many times I'm asked what inspired me to write the book. And I always struggle with that because, to be honest with you, I was not inspired to write the book. I wasn't inspired until I started writing the book. So it wasn't something that I chose to do. I was actually kind of voluntold, so to speak. So in my marriage at the time, so the story that led to the divorce wasn't our first rodeo. So there were things that, as all couples go through, all marriages, there were different valleys that we were hitting, and during that time, which was probably 3 or 4 years prior to me going through the divorce, during that time, God had planted a seed in me. In hindsight, I know that it was God planting the seed. But at the time, I just thought it was something I thought of, right? So I work for this organization where in the unit, I'm in the discipline unit. And in this unit, we provide letters and just different information that is a result of them going against what the manual policy and procedure is. So that is actually where the name of the book was born.
Okay.
Going to work, looking at the policies and procedures, understanding that if you do not do what is said, what you agreed to, what you signed to do prior to taking this job, there's some consequences, right? And at that time, again, in hindsight, I know it was God. Yeah. But at that time, I was thinking, wow, that's, kind of like marriage, relationships. If you do not be in alignment with what the vow is, what you said I do to, there's some consequences that you'll definitely have to face, right? And so I'll fast forward. I spoke to my coach about the book. I told her, at work, there's these manual policies and procedures, but I think I could twist it to marriage policies and procedures, right? And she's like, oh, that's cool. That sounds good. We toyed with it for a minute, but never really did anything with it. Fast forward a few years later, I talked about it to a friend of mine, and I ended up going to a Bible study. I went to Bible study, not my church Bible study. I was going to be late, so I chose to just find somewhere that was going to feed me. I needed to be fed at that time. So I went to this Bible study, and there's this bishop there, this prophetess, and she doesn't know me, and I don't know her. And as she began to pray, she stopped and she turned around and looked at me and said, God says it's time. It's time for you to write that. She said, I don't know if it's a book, if it's a pamphlet, it's something that's going to be very powerful. It's going to help people get free. She says, but he says it's time. You can't wait any longer. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what? Right? Because I'm real particular on receiving folks speak over me. It has to resonate. It has to be in alignment with God, with what God has already told me. I believe in you confirming it being confirmed and not it being my first time hearing it, right? And so as she went on to say all of what God had already told me, it was at that point that I said, I have to go. I have to move on writing this book. So that is why I say I wasn't inspired initially. But as I began to write the book, I became inspired because I realized that I was, at that time, I am being what I needed when I was in the valley of my marriage. And that inspired me to be more transparent. I believe my transparency is someone's road to recovery. And so I had to make sure that I was in alignment and in tune with God and know his voice so that I can hear him say, tell that, don't tell that, right? Because many times we can hinder someone before we help someone if we're speaking out of turn.
That's good.
And where my heart was to help folks just have a healthy and growing and thriving and striving marriage and relationship. So I wanted to tell it all. And God says, no. He says, I can put you in a room of 100 people, and there will be one person that will be hindered as a result of something you say, and I'll tell you not to say it. He says, so I need you to know and hear my voice and know it, and not only know it, but be obedient to it, right? And so that is what inspired me once I began to write. In the book, I talk about different policies. I give my true story. I give my life story, some things that occurred in my marriage. 18 years together, 14 years married. I talk about different things that not only he did, but things that I did or did not do. So here's the thing. I'm not here to bash or to talk down or to male bash or anything like that. My goal, my whole purpose in writing that book, once I got started and realized that it was an assignment from God, was to give him glory, right? And I had to get comfortable with that because I didn't want it to seem like I was being bitter or that I was talking about some things that my ex-husband had done. But in order for me to lay it out the way that God wanted me to lay it out, I had to tell some things, right? I recall writing and then going back over some of the policies and saying it just didn't feel good. It didn't feel right. And I said, Lord, I had to push away for a minute and say, Lord, what is this? Why aren't I feeling it? Why am I not like connecting to it? And he says, it's because you're trying to write from a healed place. He says, I need you to go back to the hurt place, right? And so that you can write from that place and give what I'm giving you for the people that really need it. He says, remove all of this, remove that mask that says I got it all together and I'm over it. Right. He says, remove that mask. He says, because the folks that need to hear the true and authentic story, they don't need the mask, Tam. They need the true and authentic Tam. So when I did that, it just flowed. I mean, it was so big of a difference with how I wrote it, how I described what I went through or what we went through and what you should do. And so here's the thing with the marriage policies and procedures. It's not to say that you have to follow these procedures in my book, but what it says is there are procedures, there's a manual procedures and policies that you should have for your own relationship and marriage.
Right. Right.
That is that you design, right? Design and create your own blueprint so that your marriage can strive and thrive. And that
Mm-hmm.
is the goal. That is what my purpose is in writing that book.
Hmm. Something's coming to me, but I'll share it later.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like, I don't want to say stumbled across because I don't think that's a good way to say it, but it sounds like it was like pieces of a puzzle for you to get to the book. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people want to write a book, about their life story, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that when we write about what we've gone through in life, that we should find a way to use it as a teaching tool.
Right.
We talk about you learn it, you live it, you teach it. That's what your coach says. And so even when you lived it, you learn from your mistakes, and you should be teaching someone something positive or something good should have come out of it, especially if you say God was in it. So it sounds
Right.
like you were just like getting pieces, of the puzzle and
Right.
putting them together in order to produce this marriage policies and procedures. And the sad part about it is a lot of people get married and they don't sit down and do something like and
Right.
come up with, especially if you've been married before. Like, for me, going into the next relationship, I've got your tool in my hands, I've got other tools in my hands, so that you don't go in and do the same thing that you did before.
Right.
So when couples come to you who are married or are not married, how do you suggest that they use the book in order to, survive in their relationship?
Well, my suggestion to them is first be available to learn and to teach, right? And I
Good.
speak about that in my book. So if you come to me and you want me to pour into you, I need you to be available to be poured into.
Hmm.
Let's not waste my time nor yours.
Yeah.
The goal is to get a relationship that is going to shift and move differently than what it was prior to coming to me. So I ask them to be available to what's in the book. And it's not saying that you have to do what I said I did or what worked for me or what didn't work for me in the
Mhm.
book. But let's have a mindset of creating something as a team. Let's
Right.
think about what a team does, right? So as a team, when we think about a basketball team and we think about the fans, as your husband or as your wife, whatever your spouse, whatever your spouse is, a wife or a husband, as your spouse, they shouldn't be in the bleachers with the fans, right? They should be right there on those seats with you. We should be huddling together. We should
Hmm.
give our opinion, and the other person should listen, and the other person should say their thing and you should listen, right? Let's be available to
Right.
everyone's opinion because here's the thing, let's be honest. The first thing we have that's not in common is our gender. You're a male and I'm a
Right.
female.
Right.
So that in itself is going to bring a difference of opinions. But not only that, how we were raised, where we were raised, right?
Right.
Um, Sometimes we want to bring in what we learned as children and
Mm,
say that this is what marriage is,
yeah.
but not knowing that that really was the opposite of what marriage is, right? And we want to use that as the blueprint to
Right.
our marriage. So I asked them to remove the things that you have attached to your marriage that is not
Hmm.
beneficial. And
Good.
once we can get there, once we can tap into those things that we have attached, like roles, sometimes
Yeah.
because I was one of those who said, as a woman, I'm just not going to take trash out. I don't care that you work graveyard and we've been
Right.
here eating all night and you don't get home till 6:30 in the morning. It'll
Right.
be here waiting for you, right?
Right.
Because that's what I saw my dad do. My
Yeah.
dad, he took the trash out. He washed the cars. He went, and there's nothing wrong with it,
Right.
but there's nothing that says that this is Bible,
Hmm.
right? So my goal is to have the couple sit, be transparent, be open to what the other person is saying, and be available to learning it differently than you've learned it before, especially if it's not working.
Right, right. That's good because a lot of people do enter into relationships and marriages with gender based ideas of what they should be doing and the other person should be doing. It's how do we, and I always ask this question because I just like a difference of opinion, but how do we operate in today's society with, like you said, what you learned, not telling your age, but it had to be 20 plus years ago,
Yeah,
as far as what you thought you should have been doing as a wife or not doing or his role. How do we come with these roles and what people should be doing in the times that we live in? Because, truth of the matter is there was a time if he did work graveyard shift, the mother was home taking care of the kids. And that's not
right.
everybody's reality. So, what do you think when it comes to the gender based roles of, what people should be doing in relationships?
Right. So I'd say before we even get to the altar to say I do,
Mm-hmm.
let's go to premarital counseling.
Okay.
That's like a curse word to some folk. And I say in this premarital counseling, I'm hoping and I'm praying that you are connecting with someone who's asking you individually, what are your expectations?
Right.
So knowing what my expectations are and putting it out on the table for my fiance or the person that I plan to get married to, putting it on the table for him to hear it, right? And then
Right.
what does that look like?
Right.
What does that look like? Okay, so my expectation is for him. I'm going to continue to use that example of the trash. It's for him to take the trash out. Well, if I leave it right there, he may say, "Oh, no problem. That's cool." But add to that, it's for him to take the trash out regardless to because I'm not
Okay.
and
Okay.
my daughters aren't, right? So you need to say all of that, but it takes
Right.
a good counsel to pull those things out because we don't want to stay surface. This is what's going on nowadays. We're talking about things that are surface
Right.
and we're giving it the okay and the approval. So if
Mhm.
we start right there, we're talking about what our expectations are. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with having expectations, right? There's
Right.
nothing wrong with saying this is what I want because after you say I do, again, I say we love will get us to the altar, but
Mhm.
staying committed to the commitment will
Right.
keep us once we leave the altar.
Yes.
So
Yes.
love has nothing to do with it, and people say, no, but I love him. I love her, and that's fine and dandy. But
Right.
if it had something to do with love, my husband and I would still be married.
Right. Right. So true. It's so
My
true.
ex-husband.
Love can get you there, but it's gonna need more than love to sustain it.
Yeah,
It's gonna need some
absolutely.
perseverance, some understanding, some forbearance, some fruit of
Right,
the spirit. Gonna have to manifest to keep it together.
right.
So somebody's asking a question on. Let's go ahead and put the question up. It's Tanya. She says, "What about having to backtrack and learn and apply what should have happened in premarital counseling in a now relationship or marriage?" Or in other words, they didn't get all this in the premarital. So how do they backtrack?
Very good question. Very good question because that is common. That's common right now. We are more aware of what we should have, could have, would have done, right? And so I'd say clearly, if both parties are on the same page and available to relearn or to not even relearn because you didn't learn it the first time,
Right.
but if you are available to go back, I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove going back. There's
Okay.
no need in going back. If
Okay.
you are available to press reset and
That's
move
good.
forward from this point,
Yeah.
there's nothing that says we can't go to counseling right now.
Mm-hmm.
So knowing what the need is, right,
Right.
and knowing that it needs to be fed, and I may not have what it takes to feed that need in my husband, but
Mm-hmm.
I want it.
Right.
That says, let's find someone, some counsel that is going to assist us in getting to what it is that we want, our expectations, our goals, what we've designed for our marriage. If we didn't get it back then, but we are still here and we're fighting for it, divorce was off of the table, it's an
Mhm.
option, but we chose not to do it.
Right.
Let's start right here. Let's press reset and let's lay out a new foundation. Where
Wow.
do we want, what do we want to build, and
Yeah.
what do we want to build on top of? Because let's be honest, there's going to be some things moving forward that are just not going to be the way you think they should go.
Right.
But what's most important is your foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
as we begin to build on top of this foundation that should be solid, if it's solid,
Right.
regardless of what we build on top of it, it is
Mm-hmm.
going to hold it. There are
Yeah.
going to be some things that crumble. There are going to be some things that's too heavy, that's very heavy, right?
Yeah.
And those are the things that have us asking those type questions.
Mm-hmm.
That foundation will stand. But when we build on a shaky foundation, everything
Mm-hmm.
falls. And
Yeah.
the hard part in starting over is building the foundation.
Right.
Because having a solid foundation says, I know I came into this with love, but I'm committed to what I said I do to.
Right. 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 This is really good stuff because, a lot of times people have to go and literally break that foundation up and,
Indeed.
and start building all over again. Or, like you said, there never was a foundation. So now
Right, right,
you're literally grabbing at bits and pieces, to try
right.
to put something together and try to make it work. But the key word that you said was that they have to be available.
Yeah.
You have to be available, you have to be open, and it's work. All WORK. You got to put the work in.
Yes.
And people don't want to put the work in these days. And I'll just be transparent and say, when I was married, I wanted to go to counseling because honestly, we did not have the premarital counseling. We went to one session and that was it. And that was
Right.
not enough. So we didn't have the premarital counseling. So when it was time to put the work in, I'm the type of person I wanted to do the work, but he didn't want to do the work. And so
Yeah.
everybody has to be a willing party in order
Yeah.
to make it go forward and to make things, work. So
Right, right.
when someone is holding this book in their hands, what is your hope for your readers? What is your hope for those who get the marriage policies and procedures in their hands? What's your hope for them?
I hope that they realize that they do have the tools that it takes to build a thriving and a healthy, happy, and whole relationship marriage. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to understand that the tools that they have in the toolbox of marriage, their marriage toolbox, aren't only tools that's going to build, but some of those tools are going to help tear down. So there's some
Mm-hmm.
things in your house that needs to be torn down. Sometimes we need to remodel.
Yeah,
Sometimes we need to
yeah,
do away
yeah,
with the 3 bedrooms. We only need
yeah,
two. We only,
yeah.
matter of fact, we only need one. So
Yeah,
we need to do
okay.
away with some of the things in the house that we're building, right? We're so
Yeah.
gung ho. We're so quick to say we want something to be very big and elaborate. But listen here, those small, quaint things are the ones that we can see, right? That we can work on and that we can allow ourselves to continue to build and not get lost on what's over there and what's over there.
Yeah.
Let's focus on what is right here. So your toolbox of marriage, I'm hoping that when you pick up the marriage, the marriage policies and procedures, I am hoping that you use that as a tool and understanding that you have the tools, everything that you need to build in your relationship, your marriage, or to tear down, get rid of, you
Mm-hmm.
already have it in you or it's right at your fingertips. And when I say it's right at your fingertips, I speak of platforms such as this. So we
Mm-hmm.
didn't have all of this, some years
Right.
ago.
Right.
There were counselors out there, but right now today there's so many coaches, there's so many different platforms, books, help books and guides and all these
Right.
things that there's just no excuse to continue to
Exactly.
thrive and strive in marriage nowadays.
Yes.
If your marriage does not work, you didn't want it to work.
Right. Right. That's good. That's good stuff. Because you're right. We are in the age of technology, the age of information. Everybody's teaching a course. Everybody's got a master class.
Right, Right.
Everybody's got a self-help book. You can learn the 5 love languages. Like,
Yeah.
there is no reason. And then now you got the marriage policies and procedures. So there's
Yeah.
just no reason not to be working, not to be, putting in the work or the effort that's needed for your
Right.
relationship to survive. So let's chime in with our viewers. So do us a favor, everybody. If you're listening under the sound of my voice, please share the video, like, tag someone who needs to hear about this great book on relationships and rebuilding your marriage. It is a phenomenal read. I've been reading it and I'm not married, so it is good stuff. I can attest to everything that she said, and it's very clear. Everything is very laid out. You just relaunched. Talk about your relaunch of the book. You just relaunched.
Absolutely. The relaunch was amazing. It's so funny because I think I was more excited about the relaunch this go around than I was when I first launched it in just September. And I was excited in September as well, but it was something a little different that came this time around. And I know that it has a lot to do with that was relaunched. The book was relaunched, but it was a relaunch of myself as well.
That's
There were
good.
so
That's good.
many things um, that I have been reloaded with, as a result of my word being available. I was available to things that I wasn't available to prior to the first launch because I thought that I was healed when I
Mm,
was writing my book. And God had to check
yeah.
me real good and say, Sister Girl, you are not healed, okay? And
Okay.
it came out in my current relationship. So I am dating now. I'm dating with the purpose. It came out and it's coming out. And I have been exposed, right? I'm
Mm,
real transparent, you guys. I tell you, I have been exposed by writing that book and by trying to live that book,
mm.
right? So I'm a person that's I try not to be hypocritical. I can't teach something that I'm not
Right.
at least trying to do, right?
Exactly.
And I
Yeah.
get it, no one's perfect, but when I
Right.
do something that is opposite of what I'm teaching, I'm convicted. So relaunching that book was amazing for me. I touched on, or I connected with some new folk as it relates to that. The new formatting of it was done by Miss Tanya DeFridas. Amazing, amazing, amazing. The same content, but the formatting totally different. And
Yes.
I'll say this, if I can interject a little bit about connecting with the right folks. When
Yes.
you connect with people that God has set up for you to connect, things go in a way that they would have never gone if you choose on your own.
Right.
So the editor and all the companies that I used prior to this go around, there was some tug of war, but
Mm.
you don't know what you don't know, right? And so
Right.
I moved forward. I'm like, okay, this is what it is. But as I continue to grow as a young lady, as a woman, as a teacher, as a speaker, as a mother, as an author, as I began to grow and learn more and be available to learn more,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
I learned that I could get so much more out of what it is that I am attempting to do, what I am doing, because my vision is to create a platform, create a movement where we are changing the view of how society has defined marriage, right? And sometimes that definition comes as a result of their experience, their personal experience, or just something that they've seen or heard, read, whatever. Well, I
Mm.
want to be able to provide something that is going to really make change. And so when you read my bio, it says that I want it to be global, and I do. I want
Right.
this book to take off. I want to travel with this book, and not only this book, but the next book that I'm writing, and the courses that I'm putting together, and the hair
Mhm.
wrap that I'm doing, and
Yeah.
the talk show. So God has given me so many different vehicles, right?
Yeah.
And I had to say, okay, God, is this you, right?
Mhm.
Like, because I want to make sure that I'm not moving out of town
Right. Right.
once, and what she think is good. And he's shown me and he's told me and he shared some things with me that has said, yeah, go ahead. I am in it. It is me. And I want you to move forward with it because I have work for you to do.
Yes. Yes. That's good stuff. So let's move into your legacy. You know, you said you want to travel, you want to do global. But talk a little bit about the legacy and the totality of who you are, not just the book. You know, we know the book is, like you said, a vehicle and it helps to get you to where God is taking you. But talk about your legacy, you know, which is inclusive of everything that you do. So talk
Right.
about the legacy that you would like to leave in the
Well, Audra, I would say that I want to live a legacy.
earth.
So
Okay.
I live as an example to first home my
Hmm.
children, right? I want them to see something in me that says that right there.
Hmm.
That's it. And this is how it's supposed to look, and this is what I'm supposed to do. Because
Right.
even when I fall, or even when I fall or I make a mistake or I do it wrong, or I choose
Hmm.
to do it wrong, because
Yeah.
we use the word mistake a lot.
Right.
When I choose to do it a way that I know probably is not the right or the best, I
Hmm.
speak to that to my daughters. I have 3 girls, and
Yeah.
I speak to that, and I am their first example of what a godly woman looks
That's
like. I
right.
am
That's
their first
right.
example
That's
of
right.
what a wife should be, should do, how
Right.
she should be treated,
Right.
and how she treat her king,
That's
right?
right.
And I'll say this, and this is my first time speaking this. I have a daughter that lives an alternative lifestyle.
Mm.
And initially, I was freaked out by it, right? Because
Okay.
here I am again. How can I teach
Right.
husband, wife, yet in my home there is?
Right.
And God says, do you want me to ask you, how can I? And although you are, He says, there's so many things that you are not doing. How dare
Mm.
you even attempt to put judgment on
Wow.
her?
Yeah.
He says, that's my job. He says, you let
Yeah.
me work that out, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He says, love her as your daughter regardless. And
Mm.
that he says, that is what I'm telling you to do.
Yeah.
And so I had to work through that because
Mm-hmm.
it was hard for me. But you
Of
know what?
course.
I love my baby to death. There is
Mm-hmm.
nothing that I wouldn't do for her, regardless to what her choice is. She
Right.
knows what I've put in her, and I had to say to myself, trust what you poured into her, not what you
Right.
see.
Right. Right. Right.
What did you pour
See.
into her? Not
Yeah.
what you see,
Yeah.
right? God says, I'm trusting what I've created you to do as a wife and to be as a wife, not what I see you doing.
Mm.
I know what I've given you, but
Right.
that doesn't mean that you're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so I had to relate it to my relationship with Christ in order for me to just be okay with it. Like, let your shoulders
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's gonna be okay. You still have to love her through it
Right.
all. She
Right.
know my stance. She know where I stand.
Right.
I don't fake the funk and act like I'm
Right.
with that,
Right.
so to speak. But
Right.
she would speak to you and tell you, yeah, my mom is not with it, but she's never missed a beat with loving me.
Mm. Wow. And love covers. You know, it
Absolutely.
covers. And perfect love casts out all fear. So
Oh,
whatever fear that may be there, if you continue to love her with the love of Christ and see her as Christ sees her, eventually it gotta prevail.
oh yeah. Oh
Love
yeah.
has
I
to
believe that.
prevail, you know. So that's a blessing, you know, that you can be a testament to that because a lot of parents don't know how to love their children through it. And
Absolutely.
browbeating them and with religion and tradition is not the way to go.
Yeah.
It is
Mm-mm.
not the way to. It's not the way to go. So I
Absolutely.
commend you for sharing that. You know, for making a stand that you're going to be a living legacy, so that it can never. She can never say she didn't see it. You know what I mean? She can never say you were not that example because you said something that's powerful. You are the first example of a woman that she's going to experience. You
Yes.
are the first example of a wife, not TV, because guess what? We don't have those images on TV these days
Right.
for kids
Right.
to look up to. You know, a lot of people
Right.
when we were coming up, it was Claire Huxtable and all those other
Right.
fictitious things that we saw, but still were good examples. But these days, it's not a whole lot of positive images for kids
Right.
to look at, as they're growing up. So I commend you for being that living legacy. So, where do you see yourself? I know you talked about traveling global, you want the book to go global. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What is your ambition? What do you see transitioning for you in 5 years?
I see myself no longer working for the department that I work for, first and foremost.
Put that out there, make it plain, right?
Listen, hey, speak it.
Right.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it because
Yeah.
it has definitely been a blessing. However, I do see myself transitioning away from working for the department and working for myself and moving for like full time with not only the books, because again, like I am an author, but that's not in my spirit that I am an author. So I don't see myself being a serial author unless God tells me continue
We
to
got
write.
other plans because I wrote some down. Well, go ahead.
Okay. But I definitely see myself teaching and speaking on a much broader scale. I
Okay.
think we spoke before about um, teaching and
Mhm.
having something on a broader scale. And that definitely resonates with me in having a school for marriages.
Yeah.
Not only because you're going through, right? I
Right.
want to be that place that you come to as maintenance, right?
Yeah.
So as we
Yeah.
do with our cars, um, every so many miles, we need to get an oil change. We need to get a
Right.
tune up. We
Right.
need to make sure we get our tires, new tires, rotate the
That's
tires,
right.
right? We wash the car, right? Because we're maintaining. I
Yeah.
want us to make a habit of maintaining our marriage and our relationship so that there is no period of breakdown
That's
because
good.
we are
That's
being
good.
intentional
Yeah.
about pouring in. We're being intentional about maintaining. Listen, if we are being intentional, then we
Right.
know that it's less, there'll be fewer times that it actually break down where we're
Yeah.
going to put it in the shop, right?
Right.
And that's where I see myself in the next 5 years. It's just being that place to come.
That's good. That's good. The analogy of a car, because you do have to treat it because a marriage is a vehicle as well to get you
Right.
to your destiny. That's why God puts people together
Yeah.
because ultimately you have a piece to someone else's puzzle, and when you're
Yeah.
together, you both become that vehicle to get each other where God is taking you. That's why it's so important as a single person to know who you are. Because when you know who
Oh,
you are, you know if a certain type of person comes your way, they can't be
right.
from God because they can't help me get to where God is taking me.
Right. Right.
Even for people who've been married for years and years at a time, they stay together because they've been able to help each other,
Right.
get to where the other person is going. So that's good. The analogy of the car, the maintenance,
Yeah.
the oil change. What do you need to do to get the oil change?
Right.
So that's really good. What's the
Yeah.
best? Go ahead.
I, I was gonna say to the car situation that one thing that I say, another thing that I use is vehicles, and
Mhm.
I want folk to know that just because you stepped into this relationship or marriage in this particular vehicle, don't be surprised if God gives you another vehicle somewhere down the line. We have to be available for change, right?
Right.
Sometimes we're so stuck on, but when we said, I do, this is what we did, or this is what we liked, or these are the places that we went, right? We
Yeah.
have to be available for change. It is inevitable that things are going to evolve. We're going to have different experiences, sometimes not together. Sometimes that experience is going to come as a result of something that I've read, something that I've seen, a place that I've gone, but I wasn't even with my spouse. And so I need to be okay with coming home and communicating that. Like, hey, babe, this, I saw this or I read this and I like it, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
he or she is going to assume it's business as usual. And
Right.
to not say it to him, to not be the teacher. Again, I said that in my book. You have to be a teacher and a student in your marriage.
Yes.
Be
Yes.
available to learn your spouse, but also be available to teach who you are or who you are becoming
Mhm.
so that the relationship and the marriage can continue to grow and gel together.
Yeah.
Once you get that, down pat, once you're okay with talking about those things that have changed, that are no longer what they once were, I
Yeah.
think we'll be on a good page, right? With communication, effective communication, not just assuming that you're supposed to know me because we've been together for 10
Right.
years. It
Right.
doesn't work that way.
Right. That's good because as you were talking, I'm sitting here praying for myself inside, like, Lord, send me someone who understands the changing, version of me because you're not the same person you were a year ago. Like when I think about where I was a year ago, oh my God, I am still not in that space anymore. So,
Right.
this is why it's so important to hear God about who you're supposed to be connected to, so that they understand where, not just where you are, but where you're going and the ever changing evolution of who you
Right.
are. They have to be able to understand that. Because if they
Yes.
don't, that's where conflict comes in, and I'm praying, Lord, let me be understanding as well.
Yeah.
Not just somebody to understand me, but me be understanding too, and
Right.
willing to go with, roll with the punches, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, they're not versatile. And that's
Right.
where the shutdown comes in because people don't know how to be versatile.
Yeah.
You never know what God will want to do with that person because they're connected to you now.
Right.
You may be that boost that they need to
Absolutely.
get that push they need to get to where that they are desiring to go.
Right.
So, you got to stay open minded. So, what do you feel like in everything that you do, the counseling to, soon coming retreats and everything else God is having you to do? What has been your greatest investment into everything that you do?
What? I'm sorry. Say that again. What has done what?
What's been your greatest investment into everything that you do?
My time. I would say my time is what has been my biggest investment. And I say that because even with small interviews or just meetups, like when I go and meet with a wife or meet with a couple and it's just a 30-minute meeting or it's an hour meeting, I am fasting prior to doing that.
Hmm.
I am removing self,
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
don't want to give them just Tam's opinion. I
right.
want that to be anchored by what God is giving me, and
Mhm.
I don't want to let God down first and foremost.
Right, right.
And so when is sending folks my way, I
Mhm.
want to be able to provide what He's giving me for them. There's a
Mhm.
reason why He sent people to me,
That's,
right? And
that's
it's because we are a little bit of Him here on earth.
right.
And if we aren't available to hear what He is saying to us to give to His folks that is going to build in this area that He's given me my purpose in, then what am I doing? Then why?
Right,
Right? And so I
right.
would say my biggest investment has been my time. It's been my
Yeah,
time. It's been my time. I
yeah,
have to still away. I have to not do certain things with my friends or not go certain places with my guy or do things with my kids because I take it serious. Like
yeah.
I really want to hear from God. And I have sat with folks before. Excuse me. I
Mm,
have I have sat with folks before,
mhm,
not equipped.
mm,
And God says, my grace and mercy is going to keep it. But
mm.
what if,
Yeah,
as a result of you not preparing,
yeah. That's good.
we
That's
lost
good.
this? You're here
Mm,
to kingdom build,
mhm.
and you have to take this serious,
Yes.
right? I know you didn't choose it, but
Mhm.
I chose you, and I chose you for a reason. I
Yeah,
know what I've put in you. I know what you can stand, what you can
yeah.
handle, what you can hold. And I know that you will be able to present it in a way where it's received. He says everyone is not going to receive it from you, right?
Right,
He
right.
had to put me in a position to where he said, that's not your audience. You
Mm,
want that to be your audience, but that's not
wow,
it.
wow.
He says, that's not it. He says, get it together. Your audience is
Mhm.
over there, them over
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Those people you just walked by, the
Mm,
ones you just said, hey girl, hey, too. He
mm,
says those are the ones that need your transparent story,
mm-hmm.
right? So I had to check myself because again, I don't want to let God down in anything
Yeah.
that I do.
Yeah.
There's enough riding on me where
Wow.
I miss the mark sometimes, right?
Right. Right.
But when I can do better, my goal is to do better.
Yeah. Yeah. I love your passion, about what God has called you to and the seriousness, that you take with it because, I see a lot of people as well. And, I always say, God, let you increase, but I decrease. Because, like you said, when you sit before people and you're not equipped, you can be held accountable. Somebody out there needs to hear this who may be trying to rush into their purpose. You might be trying to rush into what God has called you to. Because
Right,
He's called you, you've got a prophetic word or somebody's spoken it, and that's all great. But
right,
when you're doing it and you're not equipped, you can
right.
destroy lives. You
Yeah,
literally can destroy lives because people who come to you are literally entrusting their life with you. They're entrusting their soul to you.
yeah,
And we look at that scripture that talks about, pray for your leaders because they care for your soul.
yeah.
And so, even doing what you're doing, we put that in a box as to pastors. And yes, it does relate to pastors, but it relates to anybody who has a calling and is answering that calling and is doing what God has called them to. That's still a form of pastoring. What you do is a form of pastoring. And so when you're doing it and you're caring for someone's soul, you should be doing it with all the fortitude, just like you're saying. You should be prepared. You should be equipped. You should be ready. You should be open. You should be fasted up, prayed up. God forbid, dealing with people and don't have a prayer life. Don't even
Right,
talk to God. But the only time you
right,
do is on their behalf.
right,
So, everything you're saying, I hope someone's listening who's hearing, be a prepared vessel,
right.
be a willing, prepared vessel to do what God has called you to do. So I want to pull our audience into the conversation because there's a couple questions out there. Thank you, everybody who's been on with us. Please continue to like and share and tag the video. I saw a couple tags going up, getting people on. It's a great conversation. She got her coffee. I'm gonna grab my water in a second. Make it rise on the cup. I see you. I see you. But I want to address a couple of the comment question actually. Somebody had a good question. Okay, I'm putting this question up. This is from Venus. She says, "How do you know when to do maintenance? How do you know? Like, use the analogy of the car. After 3,000 miles, it's time for oil change, or at certain miles, certain car, they tell you to replace certain parts. So, how do
Right.
you know it's time to do maintenance in a relationship?
Right. Yeah, just exactly what you just said. But here's the thing. Understanding that about every 90 days you need to steal away, just you and your honey. About every 90 days, you need to do something that is only you and him or you and her. You need to go somewhere. You need to make sure that you are vacationing. You have to get to those things that remind you of why you said I do, or
Yes.
get to the things that remind you of why you want to say I do. This is the person that you're doing life with.
Right?
I don't like to say doing life because it sounds like jail, but this is a person that you are living the rest of your life with, that you are learning life with, right?
Yeah.
This is the person that should know everything about you, all of your isms, your schisms, and your tisms. They should know all of that. And
Yeah.
so I say every 90 days, you want to press reset. You want to go do a quick, it can be an overnight somewhere. It
Mhm.
can be a whole weekend. It can be a week, but
Yeah.
it's mandatory that you do that. And so, as you said, just like we know with cars, every 3,000, 4,000, I don't know, miles, there's certain things that need to be done. Well, let's equate that to miles.
Right.
So every 90 days, and here's the thing, when we don't write the vision and make it plain,
Right.
Life happens.
Policy.
And we'll look up and it'll be a
Mhm.
year and it'll be a year and a half.
Yeah.
And we're frustrated and we are snapping at each other or we
Mhm.
are putting each other on the back burner because guess what? I know that he or she is going to be there. But let's not get so caught up with that because sometimes we mess up and although we see them physically, they are mentally gone.
Right.
And we don't know that they have mentally checked out until we are at counseling or sometimes
Mhm.
divorce court.
Wow. Wow. That's good stuff. And I'm thinking about, it's necessary. The maintenance is necessary. Like you got just me as a single person, I got to get away from the
Yeah,
whole drum. So I
right.
can imagine for a couple, you got to find that time to steal away. You just have
Yes.
to maintain the love and the
Yes.
connection. Next question on the platform: how do you ask your partner for counseling? How do you ask them?
How do you ask your partner for counseling? So, in conversation, so at this point, you should probably know how you think he feels or she feels about counseling. Most men, and unfortunately, that my experience, aren't really always willing to go to counseling because why I got to go and tell my business to
Yeah.
somebody. We can work this out, right? You have to know him or her well enough to where you use the verbiage, right? And this is where love
Mm,
language comes in
come
at.
on, break it
Use the
down.
verbiage that is going to get him to not only listen, but to listen. So
Mm,
we can listen here, but we need them to listen with their hearts. Give them a
mm,
reason to why if we did that, what would be the results, right?
That's
Give them
good.
the other
That's
side of
good.
the truth.
That's
Show
good.
them
I
that. Make
love
it
it.
visual. Make it visual.
Yes,
Make it big. Make it
yes,
big, right?
yes,
You
yes.
know what he wants, and
Right.
you know what she wants.
Yeah.
Paint the picture for him. As a result of this is what we can have. But here's the thing: be willing to get to the what we can have as well.
Yeah,
Don't say this is what we can have only to get. That's manipulating.
that's good.
No
Go down the
manipulation in
difference.
marriage.
There's the difference.
Yeah. So if
Mhm.
you aren't willing to do that thing that you're painting a picture of
Right.
to get him or her to go to counseling, you can't use that.
That's good.
Be real with yourself. Remember, look in the mirror and not the window in your marriage. When you
Mhm.
look in the mirror at yourself, you're telling yourself what you need to do. When you're looking out the window, you're looking at your spouse and saying what he or she needs to do.
That's
So
good.
getting him or her to counseling is painting the picture of what's to come if we do go.
That's good. That's good stuff. That's good. I haven't heard it that way because men are visual. The last relationship I was in, he was like, men are visual. We want to see. I need to
Right,
hear it broken down. I need to
right,
understand why. That's
yes,
just who they are.
right,
We react emotionally. And so we just be ready to do it because our emotions are feeling good and we think
right,
it's the right thing to do. And then they're like,
yeah,
hold up, put a pause on that. You
yeah,
know, so, it does help us stay balanced, but they're visual. And again, this is the work.
this
That's
is the work.
this is the work.
Yes,
And y'all always say it all the time, and y'all will say, do your work, beloved. This is
yes,
the work that,
right,
for a successful relationship. Paint the picture and make it
yes,
glorious. Don't just paint a
yes,
picture. Paint a
right,
picture that's so good they can reach in and pull out a pack of
absolutely,
baby.
right,
They see
yes,
that thing so clear, they literally eating out of your hand.
yes,
That's how. This is good stuff because it's helping me, so that when I get in the next relationship, because like you said, looking out the window is selfish, but looking in the mirror is like, okay, see me first, because if you see
yeah,
you first, then you're going to be more willing to help them to
right,
see whatever
okay,
you're trying to portray or whatever is going to work,
right.
and make it good for the both of you. So that is really, really good stuff. Let's see. I was looking to see if I missed any questions. We talked about the maintenance. Like, share, tag the video. Uh, we got some good comments. So Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's talk about your next book, Life After the D. Talk a little bit about that and when you anticipate that you will release that.
Absolutely. So, Life After the D, I anticipate releasing that later this year. That book, I was inspired before I started writing. I
Okay.
was inspired to write this book because I think it's extremely important for us as it's for women. This book will
Mhm.
definitely be a women's devotional. Um, I deem it extremely important for us to remember who we are prior to saying I do. I want us to understand that even after the divorce, you are still that person. I
Mhm.
want us to understand that even after the divorce, you are still beautiful.
Yeah.
There's still greatness for you. You know, there's still a purpose for you because I know when, excuse me, I know when I was going through my divorce process, the way that I felt standing in that line to get inside of the divorce of the court to fill out the documents, I will never forget thinking about how when I was engaged, I
Mhm.
wanted to be seen like, hey y'all, like hey, and I felt like I wanted to hide at this point. So it was the total opposite,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so I want to be the voice that says, so in this book, it says, it has the she said, I'm sorry, her story, which is me,
Mhm.
something that I was thinking at a time of feeling insecure or whatever that topic is, and
Yeah.
then there's a response from God, His story. And
Mhm.
so what happened during that time was I did a lot of writing in my journal. I had a mentor that I would Marco Polo is a video chat. I would talk to her, call and talk to her, and I use that as a video, what do you call it? Video notes, so to
Yeah.
speak. And
Yeah.
so I've listened to that over and over again to hear, because when she was speaking to me, she was definitely giving me what God was saying.
Yeah.
So it helped me write the part what God's response to what I was feeling or what I was thinking or what I was saying. And I just want to have something for women who have been divorced that think their children cannot move forward from this. I have my daughters that are going to be co-authors writing a part in the
Wow.
book telling what they felt when we were going through the divorce and
Mhm.
where they're at today. I want them to women to understand that it is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Feel it. Give yourself permission to feel what you're feeling. I'm never saying cope, right?
Right.
Because that's another thing that I was doing. I was coping and not healing. I was
Mhm.
just because people expected me or people were watching me, I felt like I needed to keep my posture a certain way. I needed to look a certain way because
Yeah.
I wanted the folk to think I was
Right.
good, but I wasn't.
Right. 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 Wow. That's good stuff. And I think that, it's good after divorce to be walked through,
Yeah,
your emotions and,
right,
what you're going through and feeling like, we always come out, or I'm not going to say everybody, because some people don't come out questioning what they did wrong. But
right,
I know for myself, I was just like, well, what did I do wrong? What can I do better the next time? Because divorce is not fun.
right,
Some people who go in and out of marriages like they drink water, I don't understand it because it was the hardest
right,
thing that I ever had to do because I didn't go into it with a mindset of it was forever to me.
right, right,
So I didn't, I knew it had to be done, and I thank God it was a way out. Because I can imagine, for me, it's 10 years later, and I can imagine still being in that marriage the way it was going.
right,
So women do need to be walked through. You are still beautiful, and especially if there was weight gain or weight loss, or for me, I had gained an astronomical amount more weight. So I wasn't feeling beautiful. I wasn't
right,
feeling, like I was, worthy of even someone else. So
right.
I think that that's going to be a very good, very needed book. And I just pray that God will increase you
Thank you.
when you release it and that it will get into global hands because this is not just an American crisis.
Right,
It's going on across the globe.
Yes.
So I really just pray God would increase you in that. So, what are some words of encouragement that you would give for someone who, you talked about your journey of getting your first book done, but what are some words of encouragement you have for an author who's still kind of sitting on the fence? They're just writing, journaling. What's words of advice you would give them to get their book done?
I would say when you get to a point where you feel like you're stuck,
Mm,
be okay with stepping away for a minute, right? Be okay with pressing reset.
yes.
Be okay because it happens sometimes. I've had it a
Mhm.
few times with writing Life After the D. And take into consideration everything else that you have going on in your life, right?
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up because you may have added some things outside of after you've started writing that book that is, hard to balance.
Yeah.
So I would say ask God to give you uh, the desire, the will, and the ability to balance these things. And also remember that anything that God gives you will never be too much. But
That's
if you
right.
give it to yourself, it may be too much. I'll
Mm.
say that again.
I was about to
Anything
say
that
that
God
again.
anything that God gives you is never too much.
Okay.
So I'll give an example. He can give you 10 items to hold in your two hands.
Mm.
And if it's God given, you're good.
Yeah.
You can pick up 10 items that you chose on your own, and you will always fumble. They will always drop. You will
Mm.
always find yourself trying to pick things up, right? Because it's not what God told you to do.
Mm. Wow. That's a powerful statement because I'm listening to you like I'm that person with the 10 things. But I'm sitting listening to you like you so right. Even though it felt like my head is about to fall apart, you
Yes, I
like,
know.
no,
I
because
know.
he gave it to me. He
Right.
gave it. And no
That
matter if he gave it, he's going to give you the wisdom to
and the strength.
execute
Yeah.
it. He's going to give you the grace.
Yeah.
We've been graced, I might can handle these 10 things, but he may give you 5 things in between the two hands. So
Right.
he's given us the grace,
Yeah.
to handle what he's given us. Because when we start doing it, you're right, we start jacking stuff up,
All the way up.
jacking it up. So those are very good words of encouragement for someone listening. As long as God gave it to you, you don't have to worry. You will be able to handle it all. And it's never too big. It's never too much.
Never.
If he
Never.
gave it, we think it is because we don't know how to execute. But
Exactly.
when he's given it, it is never too much. So it's been totally awesome. I just feel like I don't want us to end. But what are some first of all, before we talk about your final words, talk about where people can find you on social media and on the web and all that kind of good stuff, even in your local area. Talk about how they can find you and buy your book.
Absolutely. So you can go to either my website, tamarajohnson.com, and you can purchase the book from there. There's a link there for you to purchase the book. You can also go to Amazon and purchase the book there, the e-copy or paperback. I can be found on both Instagram and Facebook under Make It Rise for my business. And then just my personal is Tamora Johnson on Facebook. I'm sorry, yes, on Facebook. And I'm also on Twitter under Make It Rise.
Okay, I was putting your website in the comments so you can go to her website and purchase
Yes,
the book. You can also purchase on Amazon, I believe you said.
yes,
You can purchase a book on Amazon. She is on Facebook, Make It Rise. That is her Facebook business page. So you can go there. Stop. I want everybody who's listening. This is something I said I wanted to start incorporating. Everybody who's listening, I want you to go to her page, Make It Rise, and like her page.
thank
If
you.
you are under the sound of my voice, I want you to go to Make It Rise and like her page and follow her on Instagram at Make It Rise. And then
Yes,
she's also on Twitter as well as I looked it up. It was Johnson Tamora when I saw your
Twitter.
information that you sent. So it's your last name and then first name, or
On Twitter.
yeah,
It's still Make It Rise, but yeah, it
make
has
it
Johnson
right.
slash Tamora.
Okay.
Johnson, comma Tamora. Sorry.
Okay, so you still make it rise on Twitter too. Okay,
Yes.
cool, cool. So, what are some final words that you'd like to share with our audience? I was looking to see if we have any more comments. I don't see any more questions or comments. Everybody's just responding, saying that the maintenance is necessary. It saves marriages. That is so true. Maintenance saves marriage. So yes, yes, yes. Good stuff, good stuff. So what are the final words that you have for our viewers tonight before we sign off?
Absolutely. So my final words would be know that you have the power. You have the power to create and design the marriage that you want to live. If
Mm,
you want a great marriage and you want a great relationship, you have been equipped with the tools to do so. It's in your hand. The fate of your marriage is in your hand. The question is, what are you doing with what you have in your hands?
mm. Wow, that's good. I put that in the comments. You have the power to design the marriage you want to live. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight
Thank
here
you for
on the
having
Working Wednesdays broadcast. It's been great having you. You dropped some great nuggets on the platform tonight. So we do appreciate you stopping by, taking time out of your schedule to share with us on this evening. Any other final words before we sign you off for tonight?
I would like to invite you all to my new talk show called Let's Be Clear. We will be launching next Friday, the 3rd, on
Awesome.
Make It Rise on Facebook. And we will have YouTube up by then, but definitely Facebook, Make It Rise. We'll be talking to different couples every other Friday about different topics that my viewers have chose. And if you have any topic suggestions, please inbox me. I am willing and ready. I want to feed the need. So if there's any topics that you would like to hear about, definitely send me a message. But I would like to invite you all to come over on July 3rd so that you can hear about the who, what, and whys why we're doing this particular show.
Awesome. And you said it launches next Friday, which is July 3rd.
July 3rd.
July 3rd on your page. I'll put that in the comments as well. Let's be clear.
Let's
So
be
join her next week for the official launch. I will be in the house, of course.
clear.
So we're so glad to have you tonight. Like, share, follow her page, and also like, share, tag the video. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and stay in the studio. I want to share with you what the Lord did before you.
Amen.
All right, thank you for joining. All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone who has stayed with us all night. The broadcast has been phenomenal. She has dropped some astronomical nuggets with us tonight. So go get her book. It is also on Amazon Kindle. So for those who like electronic books, the Marriage Policies and Procedures is on Kindle. She didn't tell us the release date for Life After the D, but we'll shoot that out when we post this on YouTube. So for those listening to us, this is IBG Publications, the Working Wednesdays broadcast. We are here every Wednesday, promptly at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. So thank you all for joining me tonight. You can also like our page as well. That is IBG Publications on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and also on YouTube, same name, IBG Publications. You can also catch up on the Working Wednesdays broadcast by going to our YouTube channel and listening to some of our past broadcasts. So thank you everyone for joining me tonight. Join me next week. Our guest next week will be Zena Stepter, And Zena is an author who's going to come and share her journey with writing her books as well. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful night. I'm actually going to sign you off. I am going to sign you off with Tam's video. Let me put it back up. So I'm going to sign you off with her video. God bless you all, and make sure you go and buy it.